Olympics. I'll be giving you guys a speech on Olympic fencing. Just to give you a brief introduction, here's a short video from the 2012 Olympics. So there they are on the fencing strip. When someone scores a touch, you'll see it light up on one side or the other to indicate who get it. If both sides light up, then you had a simultaneous touch. I'll talk about that briefly in a moment. That fast. Wow. So, what I'm going to give you right now is a brief history of fencing in the Olympics. So, please. Just so you know, my references for this, I got a little bit from the Encyclopedia Britannica, a little bit from Olympic.org, particularly the timeline, and then some from Federic International via Screen, which is the governing body for all of fencing worldwide. Now, fencing is the only event that's been in every single Olympics since 1896 when they restarted the Olympic Games. Originally it was just foil and saber, then they added épée in 1900, then they added team competitions, only for men though. The women didn't get their first Olympic event until 1924, and then in 1960 they added the team foil, because before that it had just been individual, and through the years it had gotten better gender parity. As of the last Olympic Games, there's a limit to only 10 events in the Olympics for fencing, so they had 3 individual events for men and women and 2 team events for men and women. Here's an example of the 3 swords that are used in fencing. You have foil, épée, and saber. Those 3 swords have different styles of fencing, and there's different target areas, which is why we have all those different events for it. The masks and the uniform tend to be very similar. You have a wire mesh mask, although nowadays they're going to a clear plastic visor for some people to get better visibility on their opponents. Heavy cloth jacket and breeches, long socks, lightweight shoes, typically a padded glove to protect your hand. There'll be a metal lame vest for foil and for saber, but in épée your whole body is a target, so there's no point in wearing a whole body suit. There's also required for safety is a plastron, which is an Under Armour protector. In case a blade snaps or something else happens, it keeps it out of your vitals. All fencing matches now are scored electronically, so you'll have a lead that's attached to you, attach your sword. It'll short when you go to make contact with your opponent. The system is accurate up to 1/64th of a second, which means in order for you to have a simultaneous touch, you have to be with less than 1/64th of a second apart in your 2 touches. This is very, very common in saber. You'll see a lot of matches where it'll be 2-2, 4-4, 6-6 as they go through their engagements because they're both striking instantaneously and simultaneously. The tips for foil and épées require a certain amount of pressure for them to collapse and register a touch. It's a ½ kilogram for foil and 3/4 kilogram for épée. So, saber, the entire blade is electric, so any contact is going to register a hit. Courtesy. Fencing's always had its roots in dueling, and the gentlemen that used to do so back in the 16th century. So it's very deeply ingrained into the sport. There's a lot of courtesy, sportsmanship. You always salute before you start, both your opponent and the judges, and then during matches it's not uncommon to see if there's been a miscommunication or if there was a miss point scored in the electronic system to voluntarily give one up to your opponent. It's just bred into the sport. So right away is used to determine who is offensive and who's defensive. This is where the strategy of fencing comes into play, because you have to have right away in order for you to get a valid point. So this is where you get attack, counter, parry, riposte, things like that. You get a huge confluence of events in an exchange. It's really the most entertaining part of it. A touch is whenever you strike the valid target area, which I'll get to next. And a match ends when one scores 15 points and has 2 more points than their opponent, or at the end of the third 3-minute period. You get a 1-minute rest in between, so it's a total of 11 minutes. If you're still tied at the end of that third 3-minute period, then you get a 1-minute sudden death. So, here's the target area. Épée, everything in your body is a target, from your toe to the underarm of your wrist, which are the 2 most common areas to get touched in épée. foil is just the torso, and then saber is from the waist all the way up. Because saber was traditionally a cavalryman's weapon, that's why your target areas are that. So, conventions. Everything about fencing is designed to reflect what combat was with a real sharp sword, and so that's why you have things like right of way. The idea is to not get touched and to touch your opponent. So there's a very strong emphasis on defense and on speed and strategy. Conclusion, it's a really fast sport. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of strategy, and it's exciting. The athleticism is truly remarkable. So, thank you very much.